Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 35 of the Purple Hyacinth on the 𝗪𝗃𝗃 podcast. And we have Bundin, Krystine, and Fwoot.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, and this episode is called Free Fall. I wonder why.
No,
And we resume. Oh, free falling.
yes, when we're not there yet.
Yeah. We'll all sing it in unison when we get there. So we have Flemmings opening up the door to his room very, very slowly. And Lauren, as of last episode, was frozen. So we were like fully expecting him to open it up and see the maid. Well, she could have just pretended to be a maid, by the way. I just realized that.
Unless there's like a do not disturb thing on his door, but I mean.
She'd be like, I don't care, sir. Your room was filthy. I had to clean it. So, but nothing seems to be out of the ordinary because he walks in, puts his hand on the bureau together with the desk, the keys, looks at himself in the mirror, and my, opens up the mirror and, opens up and takes the papers out. And we see somebody looking out from a vision on the floor. We see Lauren's head. So we have deduced that she has put herself under the bed. Classic hiding spot. Flemmings kind of like looks down in that direction, seems to be a little suspicious. And he walks over to the bed, leans down. You see him bending down. Your heart is like pumping up your chest because you're like, she's about to get discovered. Oh my God, it's going down. This is awful. And he doesn't look. He just picks up some papers from underneath the mattress. And Lauren is like terrified. Her eyes are ginormous. And
he could have like shoved his hand in her face. He could have hit her because you can see in the next panel, his hand is maybe 2 inches above her head.
Exactly.
Reading this for the first time, I literally never felt more stressed. Like reading PH.
Yeah. Stressful set of episodes, man.
I know, my heart was like pumping.
Oh my God. And Lauren's sweating and Flemmings gets up. Amazingly. Lauren like closes her eyes out of relief. She probably fainted there. And then there's a cling and a clang, and she opens her eyes again. She's like, what now? Because suddenly there's a gun in his hands. And she's like, is he gonna come shoot me? Like, did he realize I was there after all? She just claps her hands over her mouth. And he, puts the gun, looks like in his pocket or whatever, holster, and looks like he's leaving. He's thumping away. Closes the door, clack. Whew. Lauren is like, she releases her hand and she's like, this poor girl.
Lost like years on her life.
But she's not going to lose time because she very quickly takes the papers from where he had put them and where she now knows there are. And she says, it's a manila folder and it says report. She takes it out, crawls out from under the bed and starts examining them. And then she says like, no, because she looks at the file. She said, no, it can't be. And what does she see? She sees a picture and we don't get to see what she sees because we switch to the next scene. Building up our tension, of course.
I love the tension. See, this is like one of the great devices with PH uses. It's like you plant something, then they kind of drag it out for a bit, so you kind of feel your suspense build. It's just great. I love it. I love the storytelling.
And the way it ties in with the next scene too. It's like, why would they cut right there?
Just
great.
F is big brain.
And now we have Kieran telling her, what he said last time. I've heard that death by the golden viper venom isn't one of the softest ways to go. And he's, serious. And she's like, but it's so fun to watch. A short show, but extremely entertaining. Again, showing a very callous, completely heartless exterior. Whether it's legitimate or whether it's faked, we don't know. But she definitely had me thinking she was cold and completely uncaring.
If only Lauren were in the room, man. I need to see Bella interacting with people with Lauren in the room so we could know, but that's probably going to be later.
So good.
Would.
Oh my God, literally, if Lauren and Bella are ever in the same room, it's going to be they're going to like paint the room red, like not just with blood, but like with lies. Like it's just gonna be red all over.
Oh my God.
And now Bella tells him the crucial bit of information that he wanted to hear. She says, I had the occasion to test it just yesterday. And Kieran's like, oh, huh, and who was the unlucky pal? You know, he's like feigning indifference, right? But really he wants to know. And then she says, the spy the leader planted in the 11th precinct. Wait a minute, the spy? He turned out to be quite useless, so it was time to get rid of him. Which is, by the way, interesting. It's like, so a spy is useless. Instead of like firing him or telling him you're out of a job, you kill him. I mean, that's
And he knows too much at this point because he could always go to the police report, all that stuff. So it's probably just a safety measure, but it's just brutal.
It's awful. It's like just awful.
Mhm.
And she says, and we're going to talk more about this whole thing in general, but she says, I hope the next one will be less incompetent, although I wouldn't mind tickling him with this dagger if work so demands. So again, she's just showing like a complete disregard to human life, a love of torture, a love of killing. And again, you know, like I said, is she lying? Is she not? But she is putting on a good show.
Mhm.
I think she's also putting on a facade. I'm personally a Bella sympathizer. She is like one of my favorite characters. I will find a way to justify every single one of her actions. If the Kieran Sims can do it, I can do it too. But
You do you, man. You do you. I'm gonna keep
basically
for my man.
that was like a joke. I didn't mean it like to be an insult.
No, obviously. Dude, you're good. You're good. Like,
Okay,
feel free to
just to clarify, I don't want anyone to take that wrong.
No, yes.
But basically, I think Bella is a foil to Kieran, as in because they are in similar positions, right? Both of them are working for the leader, and both of them also respond to like different apostles. Bella seems to be working with Apostle 7 and then also with the leader. And both of them are on some sort of a special case. Bella is spying on 7 for leader, while Kieran is being loon to take down the leader. And so they very much mirror each other in a way. And we have seen from their series of flashbacks and scenes with Lauren that Kieran seems to be a very regretful person. However, he doesn't like showing it much, more expressing that regret through subtle actions such as dropping the purple hyacinths. However, in order to hide his true emotions, Kieran puts on a facade. He puts on a show, and he pretends to be a devious, sarcastic, flirty person as the purple hyacinth, as we see in like episode, I don't know, the first few episodes when we see him in, and as well as episode 10 and the following episodes after that. It's not until we start to get to know Kieran more and spend more time with him that we actually see his true colors. So what always gets me is when we initially meet Belladonna, we're only a few episodes into knowing her, and a lot of times people assume that she is a cold-hearted killer with not much else to her, which is odd because even though she's not a main character like Kieran is, she is more of a side character because she is not Loon. So the main story does not completely revolve around her. Even though she's not a main character, why do we treat her as if she is not similar to Kieran and how she feels about her job?
So I think, you know, you're very perceptive in showing how similar they are. And we probably should have thought of that earlier. But I think also because up until a certain point in the story, and we have not gotten there yet, we have not seen any sympathetic side to her. But Kieran, we've been showing his feelings, bits and pieces for a while. We see like the purple hyacinths right away, obviously. We see him, even in the first episode, he's like contemplating the hyacinth. He seems regretful even back then, the first picture we see of him. And obviously we see like flashbacks also of his abuse earlier in life. So that already gives us immense sympathy for him and an understanding that he might not have been a willing participant in this. So, you know, but we don't get to see any of that for Bella at this point in the story. So we assume she's just a bad guy. But you were 100% right that like, we probably could have been clued in earlier, you know, that there's more going on.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on the Bella train for a while. Like I haven't been super vocal about it, but I've been here for a good few months, like before the past few episodes, like that have been coming out like for free.
I know,
But
because there's
still-
verbal proof
yeah,
on the podcast of that.
Yeah. But like we know from Kieran's line about like, oh, how tacky in the previous episode, I believe. He was like, oh, you're still in your snake phase, how tacky. It implies that Bella is still living a bit in the past, whereas Kieran is looking more to the future. Bella is still using the same method of murder. She's still using these similar tactics that she used maybe like years before. So she's not really one to move on or move forward. It seems like, you know, because she doesn't really evolve with her murder style, or like she doesn't really evolve in how she operates. And it seems like Kieran recognizes this. And so while Kieran is the one who's moving forward and making attempts to change the future, it seems like Bella is more stuck in the past and scared of what will happen next. However, so that means that Kieran, who does have an outlet, he has someone who he can express remorse to, even if he doesn't want to. Lauren is still there, and although they're not really supposed to be personal, they are developing a friendship. It's, of course, it's not a friendship that's developing under the best of circumstances. They're trying to take down a terrorist organization. I don't see how any healthy relationship can develop under that. But Kieran still has someone to talk to, and he still has someone who, even if accidental, he can form a genuine relationship with. Seeing Bella, seeing the way she carries herself, seeing her relationship with Kieran and how the two talk to each other, it doesn't appear like Bella has someone in her life like that. Maybe Kieran was a figure like that in her life at one point, but not anymore. And so if these, basically what I'm trying to say is that Bella is still Kieran. Even though we haven't really seen her expressing remorse in different ways, it doesn't mean that she doesn't feel it. These two are so similar in a way that it would feel a bit ironic for Bella to not share the same feelings as Kieran. And these two are obviously coming from similar but still different circumstances. We don't know enough about Bella to really, I am jumping the gun, but we don't know enough about Bella to know if she's actually a serial killer assassin person or if she does actually feel remorse. But if Kieran puts on a facade, then it's not far-fetched to say Bella does as well. However, Kieran is more comfortable with letting down that facade where Bella is not. Sorry, that was a bit of a tangent.
Good.
Yeah,
it's like all the it's like all the other characters in Purple Hyacinth. There's lots of layers to them, so it would stand to seem that, like, why wouldn't she have some layers to her too?
The onions. Yes.
The onions. Yes, the onions.
Onions have layers.
That line will never die.
Nope.
And Kieran does seem to be, like you were saying, letting down his guard. Like he does seem to be emotionally affected by this, because he looks down for a bit and then he looks up and says, I see, right? It's not really a response. It's not like his normal cheeky response. It's, you know, he is impacted by it.
He is, but I think he's more affected, not necessarily by the information itself, because he knows that the police are have spies in their ranks. But I think it's more of, oh, Lauren, when she finds this out, it's going to be insane. Which, speaking of,
that's exactly what happens. We flip back to Lauren. Lauren says Harvey, and her fingers are shaking as she sees his file. And now we get a close-up. Name, Harvey Wood, date of birth, April 7th, blank, blank, 01. And we're in like what? Sorry, I forgot. 17?
27.
Yeah.
So he's like,
so he's old, kind of like 25 or 26, because Lauren is 22, so
he looks so
Harvey's
young.
a bit older than them. He does look young for his age, yeah, but he's one of the older members.
Interesting. And function spy 11th precinct APD in service since March 23rd, blank, blank, 26. So he's been there for a long time. Number of reports 34, execution day, December 20th, 27. And we have a picture of Harvey there looking cute and adorable with his freckled face. And she's like, he was a spy along since the very first day. She's just looking horrified. how could I not notice? He was right under my nose the whole time. And it's also especially horrifying for her because she counts herself as the lie detector. And she's just shocked anytime someone gets away with lying to her, I guess, through her ability.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is one of the key moments where it really sets off Lauren's track of losing faith in her ability. Because, like, you know, this is such a deep betrayal to her. Harvey, although they weren't like super close friends like she and Kim, Harvey was still, you know, a friend to her. He was nice. He never did anything wrong. He got along well with his coworkers, and he did his job well. You know, she mourned him when he died, and he was a significant presence in her life. So finding out that he was thwacking and she never knew about it, even with the ability, it would probably send her into a bit of a crisis because she's put so much faith into this ability for so long.
It's people like working their way around the ability as well. So it's like, I've always had this theory since this happened. I mean, when it did happen, I was like, oh my God, it makes like sense and stuff. I sometimes think, what if they faked that he was a spy? I don't know, man. It's just, what if they did that?
He's a spy.
You know, like they just randomly killed him to cause like stuff. Because I think, Fwoot, you said that you had a suspicion that Bella knew that or suspected that Kieran was involved with Loom. So I feel like that could have been something to kind of stir stuff. I don't know. It's probably not true, but I don't know, man. Like you didn't see it coming. I know that's a big part of it, but it's like, Harvey, like that's part of it because she didn't even notice any lies from him whatsoever, which Harvey doesn't know about her ability, so he wouldn't know to like not to hide that, you know. So that's my main thing, but I could be wrong. It could just be me on a soapbox, but it's fine.
Yeah,
Keep an ear out.
it's something about this twist that gets me is that although I like it as a twist, I'm like, oh, that's pretty significant. That's gonna change the way we see the story. I do think that there wasn't enough buildup to it. Like it kind of came out of nowhere. Yes, Harvey got killed, so it makes sense that he would be a spy, but we never had any indication of the sorts that Harvey wasn't a police officer before, or like wasn't just a police officer.
I mean, we don't need that sometimes because some twists are kind of like smaller in terms of the plot in a way, rather than the bigger twists that come more in hindsight. So it is something where it's just new information. Like the whole point of it is that like it shakes Lauren up because she didn't know, she didn't pick up on it, and that's kind of the bigger thing. It's more of a device for her personal growth rather than as something that we could figure out, if that makes sense, at least to me. But it's also like, what if he wasn't and they just killed him just to cause stuff? And I don't know. Just, yeah.
I don't think like we should have been able to like figure it out before. I just think like maybe a line
a hint, yeah, I can see that,
sympathetic to the PS or come from a place of understanding for PS members, like a lot of PS members who come from lower classes. I think just some comment about that would have been enough to foreshadow this, especially with the overarching theme of Purple Hyacinth, or an overarching theme because there's a lot, but with one of the overarching themes that we'll start to develop later on, seeing Harvey getting his opinion and his thoughts on the Phantom Scythe, and like it could have been like one or two comments, would have been like just enough to set up something like this.
We'll find out. So,
but also like it says he reported like 34 reports. So it's like, what did he tell them?
What did he tell them? Why was he useless? Why did they decide he's not worth it?
Was he maybe useless on purpose? Do you think he joined the Phantom Scythe for whatever reasons were discussed more, like whatever reasons, and then didn't really want to be there, so he kind of like didn't do anything important? So he was like, well, I need it. Maybe he was forced into joining the Phantom Scythe. You know, maybe we assume we get it for money later on, but you know, maybe he was like, well, I need to do it the money, but I'm not going to actually destroy the APD.
Oh my God. wait, I just realized. Wait, okay, I think we know this, but you know how Lauren was a detective a year ago, right?
Yeah.
But then she was demoted because she like slammed that, or well, because like that dude was lying, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it got messy. What if, because it got messy, Harvey was assigned to that precinct to be a spy, because he joined the precinct a year ago. So
What are they in now? They're in like November 27, right?
Oh, what if he was already there and then he just became a spy at that time too? That could be it as well.
Good point.
Like he was an
Yeah,
officer,
because,
but then
like-
something happened, and then because
yeah, but what if Harvey was supposed to be spying on Lauren? Because the dude realized that Lauren could hear the lies, right?
because
And
we know
then,
that it had to do with the phantom sight, so that could be something.
yeah, and then the dude like told the Phantom Sight superiors, so they got Harvey to spy on Lauren in the precinct. But when Lauren hadn't really been doing anything for a while because of the rise of Loon, and Harvey wasn't able to really find anything on it, even though Loon had been reporting directly to the 11th precinct, they were like, okay, this guy isn't serving any point anymore. He's not helping us figure out who Loon is, even though Loon is going directly to the 11th precinct, and now Loon is reporting to the 7th precinct as well. And this guy hasn't really been able to get much information on Lauren, as well as like protect Lauren from dangerous situations. Because like, remember how Harvey was like, Officer Sinclair, that was such a dangerous stunt, like in the prologue. Like that, what if that is why they killed off Harvey, and that is why he was useless?
Very cool. Very cool.
Could definitely be that.
Well, I guess another thing we'll find out. So Lauren is shocked, right? She is like, how could this be? But now, at this very moment, guess who comes back to his room? The door is opening. Lauren's like, he's already back? Oh no. The door is opening. Lauren's like, quickly puts the reports in her pocket. The key is going into the door. He's opening it. She's like panicking. She sees the window, decides, okay, that's my only resort. I don't know why she didn't go under the bed again, by the way. It worked last time.
I think maybe she was, I don't know, it's just like to crouch down, crawl under the bed might have made noise because like the floors maybe like wood, I don't know. Or maybe she thought he was coming back for it and she didn't want to risk that because now she knows that he's armed and she's not. And so she just wants to get out.
He opens the door, creak, and he sees the window is open. And sorry, the curtains are billowing. She has obviously gone through the window, and it's like swank, swank, whoosh. You could just hear the sound. Then Ryan, takes his hat off, walks over to the window, looks outside, doesn't see anything. We don't see anything either, except like for the trees and the wind. And we see like a view from underneath looking up at the window. And we see him, now we see Lauren. Lauren is hanging down from some branches in undetermined amount of space underneath Flemmings. She's like got this grimace on her face and hanging on precariously. We see the sweat on her face. She's probably losing her grip. Flemmings closes the window. Lauren's like, whew. You see the sigh of relief come out of her mouth. And then one of the pictures that she took starts flying out of her pocket. Lauren's like, oh no, and grabs it. But of course, now she's hanging on by one hand, looks up. It's very cute. Like the tremble marks are now all around the picture. It's a cute way of doing that. And her one hand is just like sliding down. And then there she goes. And she scratches herself along the way. We have some blood marks. We have the giant like whoo, like going down, more blood, and bam, she slams, whack, and bam. It's just like a lot of noises. And
Keeps hitting branches.
And then she's flat on her face on the floor, all
Like a
scratched
Looney
up.
Tunes cartoon.
Like she's bloody, she's thumping, and there's a thump. Who's coming along? None other than her beloved paramour, Kieran White.
You just call him her paramour.
And she is like super disgruntled. She's she just sees his feet. Well, we don't know yet as Kieran, but like we see a pair of feet, and then we look up and he's like in the shadow with the moon behind him, looking quite nefarious. His hands are on his hips. Basically, it's like, what have we got here? And now he asks, I love this guy so much. He's like, finally fall for me, officer?
I know I did.
Okay, I hate Kieran, but this panel at the end, one of the few moments I will tolerate him because he looks amazing in this panel. And the line
Yes, he
is so
does.
good. Like, it's just so Kieran, did you finally fall for me, officer? I want to hate you, but he makes it so hard.
I'm glad you're coming around.
Sometimes it's very easy to hate him.
But the God, he saw an opportunity to roast her and he took it. And you know what? If he hadn't said that, I probably would have been disappointed in him, honestly. Just, it is the perfect quip to just throw at her in this moment as she's bleeding out on the floor. Just, oh, you asshole, but I love you.
Insult to injury, but also little key flirting.
Oh my god. Kieran was really just drinking it up in a bar and Lauren was falling out of windows. The difference.
Didn't she say that as well in like one of the earlier chapter when she was like sneaking in? She's like, I have to do this, and he's off like drinking at the bar.
Yep, that's what she says. She complains.
As she should.
What he does in the next episode, I think, makes up for it. Shall we proceed to the next episode?
Yes, we shall.
Okay.